Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout out to something else. Something else, Daddy.
This is Nickel Matata, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to Something Else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Arya.
And welcome to episode 126 of Something Else. Feast your hair holes on this week's episode as we take a look at Mid-South Wrestling and World Class Championship Wrestling from September 24th, 1983. My name is Arya, and joining me, as always, is the Debbie Combs to my Donna Day. It's Trae. Trae, how you doing today?
I'm great. How have you been doing in the 7 days since we last spoke?
Man, oh man, Trae. It's been amazing. Like, it doesn't feel like it's been that long. It feels like it's only been like 4 hours.
Yeah, crazy how time works, isn't it?
Oh, Lord. But yeah, so since the show that happened last week, I went to a drag show. Trae watched Collision. And now we've returned to talk about some old school pro wrestling.
Yeah. This is I feel like we have more to talk about this week than we did the last week's shows.
Yes. Well, last week we somehow got it done in like an hour and 10 minutes, thus making our feedback people happy. Let's hope they actually listen to the fucking show. But yeah. But this week, we have a little bit more meat on the shows this week, especially World Class. This one I can actually play some audio from. But let's dive in here. Let's go to the Irish McNeil Boys Club in Shreveport, Louisiana for Mid-South Wrestling. Let's go to our intro with Boyd Pierce and this week's guest host, the Cowboy Bill Watts.
Wrestling fans, and welcome to this week's edition of Mid-South Wrestling Television. I'm your host, Boyd Pierce, and we have a lot of exciting action. Battle of the Hacksaws this week here on Mid-South Wrestling. Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Hacksaw Butch Reed. Also, the inevitable Junkyard Dog takes on 383-pound one-man gang. So many of you have asked us and written requesting the Popular Girl Rasslers. They are here this week, and they'll be in a mixed tag team match. So lots of exciting action. There's none better to tell you about it than our guest commentator, Cowboy Bill Watts. Bill?
Well, I think you've said it all. Of course, the 313-pound Nikolai Volkoff from Moscow, one of the world's strongest men. Also, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. A lot of great action. My friend Rusty Barber, some of the kids in wheelchairs, and a full packed house here at the Irish McNeil Boys Club. Let's go right to the ring for a great main event with Reeser Bowden introducing it.
All right, so we got a fun little show here today. Battle of the Hacksaws, Reed versus Duggan. The inevitable Ace Austin, Junkyard Dog, is going to be sports entertaining with the one-man gang. We got Nikolai Volkoff's going to be here, along with Jim Neidhart.
You know, that's not even the worst anybody fucked up Neidhart's name on the show.
I started wondering, like, because it seems like it's only the heels that they fuck up the names of. Are they doing it on purpose, do you think?
I never really thought of that. I mean, I don't know. Duggan turned babyface, and they're still calling him Dugan.
Yeah, but that's a lot less frequently than when he was a heel, and that's all they ever called him was Dugan. Because, they would do the thing where then Duggan would complain about them calling him the wrong name. But because by and large, though, it's like they call him Duggan more often than they call him Dugan. Like, I call him Dugan more than I think they do.
Yeah, I don't know if they put that much thought into it, but maybe they did.
Now, the other thing I want to note, and they mentioned that the popular girl wrestlers will be here this week. Before the main event actually happens, or before the last match actually happens, do they ever say the name of the popular girl wrestlers?
I think they said them last week.
I don't think so. I think they just said the popular girl wrestlers.
No, I thought they said Debbie Combs and Donna Day.
I have to go back and check. I thought it was just
Yeah.
we're gonna have the girl wrestlers here next week.
I mean,
And
they would have known because it was the same taping.
the very first episode of Mid South we did way back in December of '81, and this is one of those. I guess you don't have to watch the entire episode, just this moment. But they had a mixed tag where it was full size male wrestlers and mini women. And Reeser does the introduction. He's like, "It's now time for the big men and the little girls." It just sounded so wrong.
I actually saw that because I watched about the first month or two of these a few years ago, and I remember Boyd Pierce saying the little midget girl wrestlers.
Oh Lord! So it's time for our main event match: one man gang with General Skandor Akbar versus Junkyard Dog. Now, typically they like to tell you to do the main event early. In pretty much the main event was always early until basically the Monday Night Wars happened. Because in storyline, you're giving them all the time they need to have the match. That's why we have expiration of time matches. The problem with that theory is when they announce that this match, the opener of the show, has a 10-minute time limit. So, regardless, there's still going to be at least 32 minutes of TV that need to be filled, even if this match goes to the 10-minute time limit.
See, if Ken Mantell had booked this would have been a 15-minute time limit, and then there would have been a North American title match that went to a 10-minute draw.
And that 10-minute draw would have went 8 minutes, 12 seconds.
And it would have had Johnny Mantell in it.
Yes.
No, Johnny Mantell would have won. It would have had Chris Adams in it.
Johnny Mantell would be our new North American champion. Yeah, Ken Mantell was booking. So Dog starts the match by chasing Akbar. And not only does he not catch Akbar, Gang cuts him off and clubbers him, almost winning with a big splash 30 seconds in. Nikolai Volkoff watched from afar as Bill Watts made vague comments about how we know what Russian athletes do and how they train for the Olympics. And we'll get into geopolitical Bill Watts a bit more later on in this episode. Yeah, Bill Watts is at his finest when there's some foreign heels to go after. By the way, what's the one way to get disqualified in Mid-South Wrestling, unless your name is Bill Mascaris?
That is it diving or either diving or jumping off the top rope. One of them is okay. Whichever one Bill Mascaris does is okay.
Well, whatever Mil Mascaris does, One Man Gang must have been paying attention to, because One Man Gang dove off the top rope with a top rope splash, but Dog moved out of the way. Not only was it not a disqualification, they didn't even mention it. This is what I was talking about last week when I talked about the top rope DQ in one of the matches, and I couldn't remember if it was last week or this week. It was this week with One Man Gang taking flight. Which, by the way, I think, if One Man Gang's going to dive off the top rope, you let him. It's like, it's not a disqualification. You let this man dive off the top rope.
Great high flyers, Mil Mascaris and the One Man Gang.
I bet you never thought you could compare Mil Mascaris to the One Man Gang before, could you?
No, but I'm so grateful for the opportunities this show gives me.
So Akbar chokes Dog. So Dog punches Akbar. This pisses off Akbar because, hey, how dare this man who I was choking punch me, you motherfucker. And so Akbar tries getting involved, but that doesn't work. He gives Gang the thump, but Akbar finally runs in for the disqualification. Boris Zurkov runs in for immoral support. Akbar waves in Krusher Darsow, but Krusher Darsow runs in and helps the Junkyard Dog. He knocks down Gang. He sits on one-man Gang, and eventually Dog and Darsow run everyone off before shaking hands. So Krusher Darsow, the future Crusher Khrushchev and Demolition Smash and Repo Man and Hole-in-One Darsow and every other goddamn name he had, he is a babyface.
And Barry Darsow remained a loyal American babyface for the rest of his career. End of story.
Yes. I should point out that Nikolai Volkoff was not impressed at ringside.
Yeah, Volkov watched all this. He did not participate. He just watched it.
Now, were you impressed by this?
Which part?
Any of it?
No.
Okay. Care to share why you were not impressed by Junkyard Dog versus One Man Gang?
I mean, I can't. Here's what I wrote. They had the match you'd expect them to have. That's that's all I really thought about it. When I imagine a Junkyard Dog One Man Gang TV match, it is this exact match.
And like we mentioned last week, they are bringing in the beef. It's like this is like, it's like, what if Vince McMahon was running Mid-South Wrestling? Is what this is becoming in the next few weeks and months. It's so like
they're going to bring in Anthony Henry's cousin.
Yes, they are. But yeah, like we said, it's going to get worse before it gets better, and it's going to get a lot worse before it gets a lot better. So we got to bottom out before we really take off.
I'm just horrified at the notion, because I know what's coming to make it better, but I don't exactly know what you're referring to when you say that it gets so much worse, and I'm just terrified.
Honestly, the beginning of November, if I remember correctly, the beginning of November sucks major dicks.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And that's when Watts calls Jerry Jarrett.
Yeah. Actually, Watts calls Jerry Jarrett next month because the company's dying right now, especially with the live events. By the way, for some weird reason, I decided to turn on a 1986 episode of Primetime Wrestling. And for some reason, Tony Garea is wearing Harley race trunks. Like the blue trunks with the red waistband. For some reason, he's wearing them.
Maybe the airline lost his luggage?
I don't know if Harley's in yet, so who knows?
Oh,
anyway, well, back to 1983, because enough of this 1986 garbage. 1983 is calling with Boris Zherkov versus George Weingroff's penis. Weingroff is wearing a USA jacket that he takes off and waves at Boris. And I'm like, oh, man, you're asking for it here, man. I'm not sure if Nikolai left or if he just stayed there throughout the whole time, but Nikolai is back standing at ringside with his arms crossed. Did you notice the cross-eyed man at ringside?
No, I noticed George Weingroff.
Well, when they were showing Volkoff, there was a cross-eyed man with one eye on Volkoff and one eye on the ring at the same time. I'm like, oh, Robert Gibson's here. That's me. That it wasn't Robert Gibson, but yeah, there was a cross-eyed man at ringside. But hey, we're having a Russian in the ring here and a Russian standing at ringside, and it's time for Bill Watts to get opinionated. Let's go to Geopolitical Bill Watts.
That have had signed agreements
if my thing decides to work.
With Russia, Estonia. My wife is Estonia. She can tell you a lot about what the treaties with Russia mean. It means they walk in and take over your country when you're unarmed, ship your leaders off to Siberia and to death camps that they never return from. I shouldn't get that outspoken here on television, but I got to lay it out like it is. I believe in America, but I believe in a strong America, and I'm for George Weingroff or anybody that's against Zherkov or Volkov or Gromikov or any of the other ones. Andropov. Good move by George Weingroff.
Poor Bill Watts. He's just every so often Bill Watts will just get in the mood, and this was one of those weeks where Bill just had to let us know his thoughts about something that really had nothing to do with anything we're watching on the TV.
There must have been something in the news that week.
I mean, this is 83. Never mind. I was gonna say this is around the Olympics, but no, that's not for another year. Yeah, I'm sure there's something going on, and so we're bringing in extra Russians, so Bill can get extra angry at it.
Yeah, but luckily, America has George Weingroff's penis on our side.
Hashtag America.
That is why we won the Cold War.
Yes. Hashtag Weingroff's penis. So Zherkov used a rude awakening, but missed the middle rope knee drop. Weingroff then slapped on the abdominal stretch into a crucifix for the win, as Watts screamed about USA, USA.
George Weingroff once again channeling the spirit of Antonio Inoki with that ground cobra twist.
Nikolai got into the ring to argue with Boris about losing, and the Bolsheviks exploded as Volkoff beat the fuck out of him.
Okay. This was funny when I saw it. Where it becomes fucking hilarious. This is the last time we ever see Boris Zherkov in Mid-South.
Damn, I didn't look that up.
That's the best. That's the best I've ever seen anybody written out of a storyline ever.
Well, we have a new Russian. There's only room one Russian.
Yeah, and he had something to say.
Yes, he did. In fact, Jim Ross is in the ring with Nikolai Volkoff. Let's go to JR right now.
In all of professional wrestling, there are only 3 or 4 Russian wrestlers in the United States. The wrestling fans, I'm sure the wrestling fans from coast to coast are wondering exactly what happened, what transpired in your mind to turn on a fellow countryman, a man from your homeland, a man from Russia.
He is not from Russia. He's born here in the United States. He's not born like me for the motherland. When they grown man, he's born here in the United States. When a professional artist bro, a little puppy, beer belly, puppy with a belly button, who have no guts to fight. I'm sick and tired of those guys that in Russia. He's not Russia. He's from here. If he's from Russia, he never lost the match because the Russian artists never lost the match. If you look at the Olympics, Russian artists get more gold medals on every Olympics than all other artists from all other countries in the whole world. You're telling me I am from Russia? I have my mind from Russia. When I fight here, I don't fight for myself. I fight for my motherland from Russia. And let me tell you, when the Russian talking, people listen. Otherwise, if you don't listen, you'll get what you deserve. Because we don't back up from nobody. We was the strongest country in the whole world. The strongest athletes, military the strongest. We don't back up from nobody. We are athletes, we come here to fight. I come here to fight and I see guys like this make me sick. Turn my stomach out. Hey, tell me why I did, you know why? Because I believe it is better to be boss in the hell than be soldier in the heaven.
Those comments from Nikolai Volkoff. And now let's go back to Cowboy Bill Watts.
Well, I couldn't understand.
Now, I couldn't understand half of what the fuck he said, but he said it with passion. Mm-hmm. Now, I do have to ask, because what I wrote down the first time and what I think he said the second time are two slightly different things. Did he say that he was doing this for his mother in Russia, or was he doing this for his motherland, Russia?
His mother Russia, which I think refers to the motherland Russia. By the way, if you're keeping score, Nikolai Volkoff is Croatian, born in the former Yugoslavia.
See, when he first said it, I thought he said his mom in Russia. So I'm like, oh, that's nice. He's doing this for his mom. But, less nice when he's just doing it for the entire country. I do note he breaks kayfabe by saying that Boris Zherkov is from the U.S. and he's not Russian. And the proof of that is that Russian athletes don't lose matches. So that is further proof that Boris is not from America, or not from Russia. He's from America, because Russians are undefeated.
Yeah, I didn't see that as breaking kayfabe. I just saw that as him exposing a liar.
I mean, they're not really breaking kayfabe, but it's like they're breaking kayfabe. Well, from here what we get, what I wrote was King Kong Bundy and Max versus Jerry Cladwell and Denny Alberts. This was not Cladwell, this is Caldwell, but he was Cladwell in his model Rick Martel baby blue tights.
Those were some nice trunks. I like that color. Yes.
I like to think that in Minnesota, Rick Martel was watching, Mid-South on the satellite dish in a bar somewhere, and I was like, hey, I got to buy a pair of tights just like that.
Yeah, why wouldn't he?
Maybe it was the same bar that Krusher Darsow was bartending at, or not bartending, but is the bouncing at, that he saw an episode of Mid-South at, and he decided to get into wrestling. But since Rick Martel was already in wrestling, he just wanted the tights.
Maybe that's where he got the Mid-South tapes from.
There you go. So Max grabs the back of his head to charge at Alberts, but Jerry, well, I screwed this one up. Either Jerry or Denny, whoever the hell was in the corner, moved, and 10 seconds later, Max ran headfirst into the turnbuckles. Bundy at one point punches Caldwell in the ass, and it must have worked since Max then pinned Caldwell with a middle rope headbutt.
Headbutt to the butt?
Yes. That was more of a headbutt to the ribs.
They really want you to call Max Mad Max, which for the younger listeners, that was a very popular movie of the time.
And for the current listeners, that's a very popular movie here in 2024 as well. I didn't care for it. They just came out with one like a few months ago.
I've never seen any of those movies.
I didn't care for it personally.
Yeah, I don't know. They're very popular. I don't know.
By the way, Max, in case this is the first time you ever listened to us, Max is the missing link. But it was said the first time he's here that his name is Max. And we'll call you what you want to be called. So Max wants to be called Max. Who will we question him?
I would just feel terrible if I dead named Max.
Yeah. Well, 20 minutes after Krusher Darsow turned babyface, JR managed to pull Krusher Darsow aside to ask him about him saving the Junkyard Dog, a man who beat him last week right here on television. Let's go to good old JR.
Here on Mid-South Wrestling, all the wrestling fans saw your undefeated win streak come to a halt at the hands of the Junkyard Dog in a very hard-fought match. A match that could have gone either way. The Junkyard Dog was the victor, however. And then today, here on Mid-South Wrestling, it looked like General Skandar Akbar had a well-laid plan, like he had recruited you to come to the aid of his men in case he needed the help. Well, he needed the help. You came to the ring, but you helped the Junkyard Dog. I'm sure the whole wrestling world was shocked. I was shocked, and like many of our fans, would like to know exactly what happened, what was going through your mind.
Well, here's the situation. General Akbar did offer me a large sum of money. He offered me $500, and I have it right here. And I was just thinking about it all week here after Junkyard Dog. He defeated me fair and square, and it's the first time I've ever taken a whooping like that. I mean, the guy just beat me fair and square. And from where I come from, up in the north woods of Minnesota, I was taught to do things right, fair and square, one-on-one, and I had my pride here. I was taught to work hard and things will come to you. And when General Akbar offered me this money, I was sick and tired of having 2-3 guys in on Junkyard Dog. I've been watching him for weeks, ever since I came into Mid-South here. And it just seems like he hasn't had a fair shake, and I just figured that was it. And I'd really appreciate it if you could give General Akbar his money. I don't need any of this Arab gold anymore. It's just, money's not worth it to me.
Well, there you hear from a very proud young man, a great young athlete, Krusher Darsow,
And that's what we have from ringside at this time.
I like that he must have been paying that close attention to Mid-South there on Minnesota cable. So he's like, Junkyard Dog hasn't had a fair shake. Like, where the hell have you been, Krusher Darsow? If anybody in this company's ever had a fair shake, it's Junkyard Dog.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe they just recently started putting up Mid-South up on Minnesota cable.
Maybe you saw would the Hayes angle's already happened, right?
Oh yeah, that was 81.
Yeah, maybe you saw that.
Yeah, possibly. Maybe he thought that, hey, Dog was blinded. He was unable to see his daughter being born because that's what they said at the time. And, you know, he got moved and it really moved him into a bigger house. Oh, shit. He said the soft part out loud. So, yeah, $500 in 1983, which is about $1,200 in 2024 money. Trae, if I offered you $1,200 to go beat up Junkyard Dog, would you do it?
I think I could probably take Junkyard Dog in 2024.
I think there's a chance he could have taken him in 1998 or 97. Still alive.
By then, probably, yeah. I don't know if I would have. I don't know if I would have tried 1983 Junkyard Dog.
He might have thumped you.
Maybe 1986. He was starting to. He was going around the junk food dog, and by that time.
Oh, if you go back again and watch those 1981 Mid-Souths and look at Dog now, he's gained at least 35 to 40 pounds, like in just these 2 years. It's like he had abs in 1981, 82.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's speaking of people who'd put on some weight.
Jim the Anvil Neidhart, who's about 5 months pregnant here, against Ron Ellis.
Jim the Hammer Neidhart, according to Reeser Bowden.
Really? Is that what he said?
That's what he said. You didn't? Yeah.
I think it's because, like, I hear what I want to hear, and what I wanted to hear was Jim the Anvil Neidhart. But
poor Jim the Hammer Neidhart.
Poor Jim Neidhart. But poor Ron Ellis, who Neidhart began to throw a forearm at him, and Ellis took a bump, which, you know, fans booed that one.
This was not a technical masterpiece.
It was not. This did not break the 5-star scale. I'll say that. And Neidhart won with the Samoan drop.
That's indeed what happened. This was, by the way, I mentioned last week. This is where Watts declared that the hold that was not yet known as the Samoan drop reminded him of the Samoans. Maybe that's where the name originated. Well, I guess we'll see in coming weeks.
Possibly. Someone get Dave Meltzer on the phone. Maybe he knows. And I'm sure if we called Dave right now, his first question would be, "How the hell did you get my number?"
I was trying to think of a good Meltzer phone joke, and I just came up. You think Dave still talks to like because surely a lot of it is like email and text and DMs, but you think how much time a day you think Dave spends on the phone in 2024?
I think he still spends a fair amount of time on the phone. If I was to bet, I'd say hour and a half, 2 hours, which I know probably doesn't sound like much, but you know, in 2024, that's a good amount of time.
Trying to think when I would have last spent an hour on the phone in a day.
Whenever you were before wife moved in and you two were just being all lovey-dovey.
You know, we used to we would be on the phone from like around, I don't know, 9 or 10 at night till like 1 or 2 in the morning, like the real early days.
Aww. By the way, I pulled up Reese's introduction, so let's go to that quickly here.
This event is for one fall with a 10-minute time limit. In the red corner, at 290 pounds from Reno, Nevada, Jim the Hammer Neidhart.
Yeah, he said the Hammer. Yeah.
Not to be confused with Greg the Anvil Valentine.
See, I thought you were calling him the Hammer because, Greg Valentine had a bit of a gut there for a while. And so you're trying to compare the two.
Neidhart, as we declared last week, does in fact look like a swollen cash wheeler.
Indeed. Poor Cash. Did FTR at least win on Collision tonight?
They did. Very good match with the Grizzled Young Vets.
Spoiler alert, 2 weeks ago on Collision, FTR defeated the Grizzled Young Veterans. So we get North American champion Butch Reed versus Jim Duggan, playing off the angle from a month ago when Duggan beat Reed in order to get 5 minutes immediately with Akbar, but instead Kamala ran in and assaulted Duggan, and thus that match never happened. But this became an unofficial lumberjack match as Magnum TA, John E. Rich, George Weingroff's Penis, Junkyard Dog, and Krusher Darsow all came out. I guess Butch Reed doesn't have any friends because nobody came out to help him out. I want to point out, though, this was not officially a handicap match, and Junkyard Dog punched Butch Reed outside the ring. That should have been an automatic disqualification.
I mean, I guess the referee just decided that it was a lumberjack match because, he didn't DQ Duggan when all these other guys are beating on Reed.
To be fair, even if it was a lumberjack match, that should still be a disqualification because lumberjacks are only supposed to be helping the guys into the ring. You're not supposed to be punching and kicking at them.
Other than that, to take the goofiness out of it, this was a pretty decent little brawl.
Oh, definitely. Duggan missed an Old Glory knee, so Reed used an Old Glory punch to the face. Duggan ducked the middle rope shoulder block and pinned him after a spear. So now the North American champion has been cleanly pinned, and the crowd lost their shit for this.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, did the American champion get pinned this week or last week? I think it was last week. He got pinned by Iceman. Lots of champions losing non-title matches on these shows.
And we'll see if either of them lead to the person who won getting a title match.
We shall see.
Yeah. So Magnum TA versus Tom Stanton. I fell asleep watching this match and had to go back and rewatch it later. I would like to blame this match, but in reality, I'd been sleeping like shit, and watching the show after Dynamite did the trick. By the way, I watched this before I got into a car wreck, so I can't blame the medication they put me on, put me to sleep for this one.
You weren't enraptured by Magnum TA against the Ultimate Dream, Tom Stanton?
No, it wasn't. I didn't notice this last week as much, but Tom Stanton kind of looks like Jimmy Golden with the curly hair, the mustache, the yellow and black gear. I'm like, he kind of looks like Jimmy Golden.
He does. He's not as good a worker as Jimmy Golden.
No. As we mentioned last week, Tom Stanton is almost as good a worker as the Ultimate Warrior. He missed an elbow drop, and TA wins with a belly-to-belly suplex.
I wrote nothing about this match except for the finish.
Well, then we get a match.
Oh boy, do we.
The greatest match I've seen all time all my life. It's a mixed tag match as the dainty 135-pound Donna Day and Art Cruz take on the 138-pound Debbie Combs, which apparently those 3 pounds make her not dainty, and her partner, Johnny Rich. We were off to a rip-roaring start, first with the dainty comment, and then when Watts started talking about how it's a shame that the girls put so much effort into their hair, and they're going to start pulling each other's hair now and ruining it. So Donna Day slaps Johnny Rich. Watts then says that the women in the crowd want to do a lot of things to Johnny Rich, but slapping him is not one of those things.
Huh. That should have been an instant disqualification.
Well, if that's not an instant disqualification, a few minutes later, Combs brings Day into her corner, and Rich forces himself on her, sexually assaulting Donna Day here on Mid-South Wrestling in 1983, kissing her against her will, which makes you a babyface in 1983.
Here's exactly what I wrote. Donna Day slapped Johnny Rich. That should have been an instant disqualification. Johnny Rich then kissed Donna Day, and that should have been an assault charge.
Combs, like, okay, I want to rewatch this, but like, Combs won with a rear chin lock, right?
I couldn't tell if she had a chin lock or was just pulling the hair or what the fuck.
Well, Donna Day submitted to something, and Debbie Combs and Johnny Rich won. They do announce that the annual Thanksgiving night Superdome show will not be happening on Thanksgiving night due to the LSU Tulane college football game, which will air on TBS that night. So they're going to be on the Saturday before Thanksgiving.
Before Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Oh.
But also next week, Leaping Lanny Poffo is going to debut.
Yes.
You don't seem very excited.
I'm still trying to process this fucking match. These women looked so awkward in everything they did, and this was, according to Cage Match. Now, this is not counting what I am certain were dozens upon dozens of matches that aren't recorded on Cage Match. Just according to what's on Cage Match, this was at least the 15th time they had wrestled each other.
Only the 15th time?
At least the 15th time. And they couldn't do anything right. Like, I don't know. I've heard the name Debbie Combs. I've never heard anybody talk about her like she was a drizzling shit, so I don't know if this was just a bad day or but this was not good.
And it's possible, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, they're not put in a situation to have a good match. Like, I don't want to compare it to the Divas division of 2009, 2010, but it's like they were not here to have a good match. They were here to be eye candy, and with all due respect to them, because I'm sure that in the right situation they could have a really good match, but again, like, that's not what they were here to be.
This was not the Manami Toyota Hikari Fukuoka match that I watched a few days ago.
This was not Sasha versus Bailey in Brooklyn at TakeOver that time. This was Kelly versus Alicia Fox, which sounds meaner than I mean it.
Not Melina versus Alicia Fox?
Who?
You don't remember that?
I do. That's why I did the Steve Austin who response.
For that one, I just remember him looking baffled and then trying to give her an out. And she, oh my God.
Was there any other match you could think of? No, just Melina versus Alicia Fox. Like, come on. Like, Stone Cold Steve Austin is standing in front of you. Like, you could not have kissed ass a little bit and said Stone Cold Steve Austin versus anybody. Like
even if you don't remember that, like, Stone Cold Steve Austin had one of the greatest matches of all time with Bret Hart. Like, surely you know enough to say Stone Cold versus The Rock.
Hell, Stone Cold versus Triple H. You know, something, right? And then she's the one that got fucking hired. Like, I think she was the only person that really, like, because that was when Andy won, but he was already in developmental. Like, she actually got hired and was in the fucking company for years.
You remember she was randomly, and it was the only time that she was over there. She was in that AEW women's tag team tournament.
Oh my God. Wasn't she Nyla Rose's partner?
That sounds right.
Yeah. They did the Lethal Lottery women's tag team tournament that was won by Diamante and somebody, and then
Ivelisse.
Ivelisse, and they never appeared on TV ever again.
No, they did, because they lost to Thunder Rosa and Hikaru Shida. So, to the best of my knowledge, Thunder Rosa and Hikaru Shida are still the linear AEW Women's Tag Team Cup champions.
I mean, when would they have ever teamed again, right?
What? Can't lose if you don't team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So that was quite the wacky edition of Mid-South Wrestling this week.
Yeah, it was.
So let's drive 190 miles west to the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas for World Class Championship Wrestling. And let's go to Bill Mercer to tell us about today's tremendous main event.
Welcome to World Class Championship Wrestling from the Sportatorium, the most famous wrestling arena in the world, here in Dallas, Texas. I'm Bill Mercer. Great to have you with us. And we have a tremendous main event among all these international wrestling stars in World Class Championship Wrestling. Kevin and Kerry Von Erich, the Von Erich brothers, will be battling Devastation Incorporated, at least two-thirds, the Mongol and Mr. Ebony. Now, David Von Erich was scheduled to be with Kerry, but Terry Gordy hurt David Von Erich with a Oriental spike, and David is out. Kevin has taken his place. So it's going to be a fantastic tag team event, and I'm sure the Von Erichs are going to be revved up. They got some revenge with Devastation Incorporated. We have a tremendous bout to start this world-class championship wrestling. It is gentlemen Chris Adams and Buddy Roberts next on World Class.
Bill Mercer needs to grow his mustache back out. He just does not look right without a mustache.
It's disconcerting. I don't like it.
Bill Mercer, if you're listening to us, and why wouldn't you be, you need to go back in time and grow out your mustache again.
You think he uses the same kind of temporal ham radio that Boyd Pierce and Jim Ross used to listen to us?
I mean, it might be the exact same one.
It might. It's only, 160 miles? You say it every week and I don't pay attention.
190 miles.
I've also driven that like a million fucking times.
I should also note that not only do you not pay attention, you don't pay attention to the opening of the Smoky Mountain show, because the one time you were going to make a joke about it, this is wrestling the way it used to be and the way you like it, not realizing I said it as the intro in every fucking show.
I paid attention last week when the one time you had the chance to do it wrong for comedy, because that's what Bob Caudle did and you didn't.
Well, much like how Reeser called Jim Neidhart the Hammer, I hear what I want to hear. So we go to our opener. Oh yeah, so the great, tremendous main event: Kerry and Kevin versus the Mongol and Mr. Ebony, with all our great international wrestling superstars here. That's the match we're going to get.
What did we decide? What did we decide Mr. Ebony's first name was? Archibald Alabaster.
Alistair? Yes. I think
Alabaster. I think Alabaster Ebony is a great name.
We'll see if that one gains any traction here. Alabaster. Now I'm like trying to figure out how to spell alabaster. But oh, there we go. That was easy enough. So we go to our opener here, Chris Adams versus Buddy Roberts. Now it's important to remember where each man recently was. Buddy Roberts, in those last match here on the show, did a JOB for John Mantell, while Chris Adams went to a time limit draw with Jim Garvin. Roberts uses
fucking furious.
Roberts uses his cushioned headgear to headbutt Adams, but Adams hit him right on the button with a super kick. Adams goes up top for a what a maneuver, but he slips on the top rope and took a nasty spill on the mat.
Oh, poor Chris Adams. He did not have a good night.
These ropes were shooting on wrestlers because Kerry slips later on too.
Yeah.
These ropes were not working with anybody this week. Roberts, I don't know how he did this, and I rewound and rewatched it. Buddy Roberts did a jumping elbow drop where he somehow fell in slow motion.
It's just, he's a very good wrestler.
Yeah, I guess. The last 30 seconds were all Adams getting near falls, and they go to the 8-minute, 10-minute time limit draw.
I was so fucking appalled. Chris Adams could not beat Buddy Roberts when Johnny Mantell beat Buddy Roberts 2 weeks ago on this show.
I mean, Johnny Mantell is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
You know? When you said job Mantell, where the fuck did you get that from? I don't think I've seen him do a job fucking ever.
Well, I did go back and look at the records, including house shows, this show, and the Fort Worth show. This is Chris Adams' 54th match in World Class, and it's his 11th time limit draw.
And a lot of those have been on the show.
Yeah. Now, in the interest of fairness, he has won 36 matches, and of his 7 losses, a couple of them have been battle royals. So, I mean, does that really count? No, but yeah, he has done 11 time limit draws. That is just insane. He's only been here since the end of May.
I've been trying to figure out what Johnny Mantell looks like, and I think I finally decided he looks like a clean-cut Ron Jeremy.
Well, clean-cut Ron Jeremy was out next, going one-on-one with Coco Samoan, a.k.a. Coco Samoa. And I wrote, I hope Coco murders John Mantell. Coco, I did some digging. He debuted in 1982 as Sabu. No, not that Sabu. But can you imagine John Mantell versus that Sabu?
I have never wanted anything more now.
Now, it's somewhat important to note that Coco is not part of the famous Samoan wrestling dynasty, although I'm sure if you ask, they can draw a line to connect him and another cousin somewhere. But I note that he does have at least 11 kids with 9 different women, and at the time of his death in 2007, he was married to a woman named Esperanza, who had 5 sons and 3 daughters, and it said that at least most of them were Coco's children. So who knows how many kids he's got, but his lineage is far more interesting than this match. And of fucking course, Mantell wins with a side Russian leg sweep. That fucking commie.
Coco Samoa is the one Samoan wrestler besides Samoa Joe that isn't related to the Samoans. You think Coco Samoa and Samoa Joe are related?
I think Coco Samoa's his dad.
Could be. Apparently he got around. He could have been the Samoan Big Daddy Dudley.
I think, we could have a new Samoan dynasty just of the kids of Coco Samoa.
I don't Joe Samoa, and then Vanilla Samoa, Strawberry Samoa, Peach Samoa. I don't know what flavor puns.
And next week,
because he's Coco Samoa.
Yes, I get it. Next week, Bruiser Brody's going to murder Michael Hayes.
Can't
And
wait.
hopefully it's as tremendous as I hope it as I'm thinking it is. So Terry Gordy versus Ken Johnson is up next. Anytime a match that is a job match goes longer than a few minutes, I'm convinced it's going to be a time limit draw in this fucking show. Gordy.
I hate unnecessarily long jobber matches, but I'm sorry, this match is fantastic.
Gordy shoves the Oriental Spike into Johnson's throat while the fans chant for Brody, and somehow that was not the finish, further exacerbating my worries that this would be a time limit draw. Instead, Gordy just beat his ass and beat his ass some more and then just pinned him.
I still recorded the Oriental Spike as the winning hold because he pinned him off of the Oriental Spike that he had done like a minute before. But okay, Ken Johnson is a great job guy. Just fucking pale, hairy, no muscle definition. Looks like he just wandered in off the street. Fucking fantastic. And then Gordy to the Oriental Spike, and Ken Johnson fucking goes into convulsions. So that was goofy, but it was fucking fantastic.
It was everything you're going to love about 1980s pro wrestling.
Yes.
So remember earlier in the show when Bill Mercer said that David Von Erich wouldn't be here due to an injury by Terry Gordy?
Did they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, okay. I remember that now. I was thinking like David is injured, but they're not saying by who. But now I remembered that they said by Terry Gordy.
With that said, let's go to this interview with Kevin Von Erich.
Here, just before Kevin Von Erich goes into new battle with Kerry, and you've got it, you've got this long battle with the Freebirds. You got another problem now with Devastation.
Well, now, the reason we're not with Dave is because he was injured. I'm not going to give the party the satisfaction of saying who injured him or how he was hurt. Dave's going to be all right. He's just out for a few days. Now, after what just took place with Devastation Incorporated, Iceman volunteered, Chris Adams volunteered to be Kerry's partner, but I want it. I want to be Kerry's partner, and I will be, and we'll be coming out here in just a minute.
Of course, the Mongol attacking Kerry after he won.
Yeah. Well, it was something that's just got to be righted. It's a wrong that needs to be righted. It's something the Von Erich brothers need to take care of, and we're on our way to do it.
All right, good. Thank you, Kevin. Well, we have Kevin Von Erich, Kerry Von Erich against the Mongol and Mr. Ebony. Right here on World Class Championship Wrestling, coming up right away.
I like the idea that Kevin came out, cut his promo, and then walked backstage so he could walk back out with Kerry.
Yeah.
And of course, this happens a lot. Like, used to happen on Nitro. I remember what Sting did it a couple times, where Sting would be interviewed by Mean Gene Okerlund, and he'd walk back halfway up the ramp just to turn around and walk back out for his match.
Well, he's a man called Sting. He does this, he does that. He's big as a bull and he's quick as a cat.
He looks fine. He looks cool. He's something and he's nobody's fool.
I think those early 90s WCW themes are very underrated. I'm a big fan of Mr. Bang Bang.
See, I thought you were going to say you're a big fan of Ravishing Rick Rude. He's ravishing, he's dazzling. He's nobody's fool.
That's great. That's great. You know what's dog shit? And I feel bad for him. That fucking Ricky Steamboat theme.
I'm not saying that women don't fall all over him, but he don't give in. He's a family man.
So I've been watching the WCW Saturday nights from '93, and so Steamboat's been teaming with Shane Douglas. Shane Douglas disappeared or morphed into Tom Zink or something, and then so they had their blow off with the Blondes. The next Saturday night, they made a big deal out of Ricky Steamboat's back in singles competition, and he's back to being the Dragon, and he's breathing fire, and he had like better music for 1 week, and I was happy for him. And then the next week, he's back out to the fucking Family Man theme.
See, it's like it's been retconned where that's never been his theme. Instead, it's always the da-na-na, da-na-na, Da-da-da. That was a great fucking theme song. Like, I get they were trying to sell the CD with all the theme songs on it, but it's like they should have just left that as his damn theme song.
You remember in during his WWE comeback in the aughts that they had him come out to the theme that they made for Ultimo Dragon?
Yes. Yes.
Because it had a dragon sound in it.
Of course. You know, when Mick Foley debuted the new Mankind theme, or at least the theme that's now like the Mankind theme, like when that opening car wreck, I thought it was Razor Ramon's screeching at the beginning of his theme.
It's funny because I have the opposite thing in my brain because I knew about the Mankind theme before I knew about the Razor theme, just based on when I started watching wrestling.
Yeah.
And so, like, still to this day, it confuses me when Razor Ramon's theme starts with the car crash.
Honestly, it confuses you because they don't even have the car crash. It's like the screech of the brakes and then dun 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 dun.
And I know we're talking about nonsense, but I promise whatever we're talking about is more entertaining than Kevin and Kerry against the Mongol and Alabaster Ebony.
I mean, if nothing else, this is a new match.
Here's the first sentence I wrote. Oh God, there's 14 minutes left.
Yes. And they used a lot of those 14 minutes.
They went 12:39.
Oh God. Kevin tags in and puts his dirty ass feet right in Mongol's face and then claws Ebony before a four-way breaks out. Referee Bronco Lubick isn't dealing with that bullshit, so order was restored. Kevin locked on the abdominian claw, and Mongol tried to break it up, but when he failed at breaking it up, he just gave up and went back to the apron. Kerry and Kevin at one point double team Ebony, while Mongol just stands there and watches. He's one shitty tag team partner. I wrote this match is so riveting, I keep checking how much time we have left on the show. This is when Kerry tried to spring off the middle rope with some kind of what a maneuver, but also slipped and almost fell on his ass. This entire show has made me want to take cyclobenzaprine, not just for my back pain, but also to put me to sleep, much like how Kevin tried to put Mr. Ebony to sleep with a sleeper hold. Maybe that's how that move works. You just slip a drug in their mouth. If a four-way breaks out again, and again, it breaks back down into a tag team match before again, a four-way breaks out again, and Kevin pins Mr. Ebony with a top rope crossbody. Mongol then decides that this match shouldn't be over until he gets his ass kicked too, so the brothers do the double whammy, to quote Bill Mercer, which is when they get Irish whipped into each other before they decide to fight another day and retreat to the back.
Here is the totality of my review of this match. As I have pointed out several times before when reviewing these shows, when the territory's hot, you can do no wrong.
And this is a perfect example of the territory being hot and allegedly doing nothing wrong.
I mean, it's weird. It's weird how that works. Like, when it's cold, it takes a long time for anything to matter, and it works the same way the other way. When it's hot, it takes a long time of fucking up to cool it off.
Yeah. That is very true. I mean, you go back and rewatch the Attitude Era. Almost everything sucked on those shows. Like, unless Steve Austin or The Rock were involved, there was a lot of suckiness on those shows. And like later on, when like the booking was pretty good, like going into a lot of those WrestleManias, you ended up with like nobody giving a fuck, even though the booking was much better.
Yeah, watch WCW in 1998 for a dissertation on how to kill a hot streak.
A- And that was still at the time when I was, you know, watching all the wrestling I could. I'd watch Saturday Night, I'd watch Worldwide, I'd watch all that shit. That was the greatest shit ever. But yeah.
Oh yeah. I watched all the wrestling I could get when like I said, I didn't start until like late 99 and into 2000, but then like I watched Raw, and then I never got SmackDown until 2005 when they moved to the CW, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I would watch, so on Monday I would watch the first hour of Nitro, and then I'd watch Raw. Then on Wednesday I'd watch Thunder, and Friday night I watched ECW on TNN, and Saturday night I watched WCW Saturday Night, and Sunday I watched Sunday Night Heat.
Yeah. Like we got Jacked and Metal too, so I'd watch that too.
Oh yeah.
And like
I never
even
got jacked in metal. I never got jacked in metal, but when Velocity came along, boy, that was my shit.
Shotgun Saturday Night. Like I didn't get that when it was like the original Shotgun Saturday Night. So when they were taping it in a New York City nightclub, but I did get it later on when it was just, a B show taped before Raw would start. Because I remember that's when they gave Bart Gunn his giant boxing gloves for winning Brawl for All.
You know what we should review next?
Brawl for All?
No, no. When we have a slot, it'd only be like a year of it. We should review Super Astros.
Oh Lord. I mean, I know, I'm sure it's out there, but I mean, is it possible to get the entire run of Super Astros?
I think I'm missing one episode. It's like one of the last episodes.
Wasn't El Hijo del Santo on that?
Yeah, I think so.
I was like, I there was somebody, it may have been him, but they wanted someone to unmask and be a pretty boy baby face, and they, basically refused.
I'm imagining Vince Russo trying to explain to fucking El Hijo del Santo that he wants him to unmask.
I'm just trying to picture Vince Russo explaining anything to El Hijo del Santo.
You think Vince Russo has ever heard of El Santo?
I would love to listen to Vince Russo try to pronounce El Hijo del Santo.
Here's how fucking famous El Santo is. I was in Matamoros, which is it's like a border town. It's the other side of the border from Brownsville, Texas. I'm in like a market, like an open public market, and I go, naturally, I'm in Mexico. I want to buy lucha masks.
Mm-hmm.
And I go and I buy a couple of masks, and my friend and I are there hanging out, and he's got an octagon mask because that was his favorite wrestler growing up, and I just put on the El Santo mask as a goof, and fucking random people, and this is in like 2017 or something. They're like, oh look, El Santo. El Santo died in 1984.
El Santo died, and then I was born. Coincidence?
Are you the second coming?
Maybe I am. Maybe I'm the real El Hijo del Santo.
Maybe.
I'm not. I'm sorry. Let's see what. Oh, I mean, El Santo died February 5th, 1984. You could argue that, my mother, got pregnant with me on the day that Santo died, and I just was born like a week or two early.
I bet that's exactly what happened.
See, that beats my prior story was that, because I was born in New York. So my prior story was that my mother went to see Hulk Hogan beat the Iron Sheik for the WWF title, then went home, had sex with my dad, and, got pregnant with me.
It's you weren't born in New York because your dad went to assassinate Fidel Castro?
I don't see why not. Maybe two things can be true,
That's true.
All right, so we've managed to go just over 1 hour.
1 hour of fuckery and nonsense, because that's the service that we provide.
I mean, to be fair, if we included the pre-show, we went about 90 minutes, but the pre-show doesn't count, apparently.
Nah.
One of these years, I got to go ahead and upload that shit because I just have it all sitting in a folder labeled pre-show stuff.
I wonder how long it is altogether.
We'll have to see. But do you have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap things up?
Okay, I may live to regret this because now that I'm going to say it publicly, it means that I have to do it.
Uh-oh.
But unless something disastrous happens, by the time you hear this, we will have had the return, the re-debut of the Oh My God cast, an ECW retrospective.
Oh my God!
Go check that out wherever fine podcasts are downloaded.
Now, keep in mind that the Oh My God podcast. We talk about things like who is the king of Philadelphia? Eddie Gilbert from Memphis, Tennessee, or Terry Funk from Amarillo, Texas?
In the most Tennessee ass chain match you can imagine. Mr. Ron Wright would have loved it.
I tell you what, I bet they could have gotten Mr. Wright when he was up in New York City, trying to get his medications with White Boy. I bet they could have gotten Mr. Wright to drive down and pick up a few $100 along the way.
Yeah. New York City is not that far from Philadelphia.
No, and that angle is a shoot that him and Dirty White Boy moved to New York City.
Well, I mean, we saw the video of the Dirty White Boy in Central Park. That definitely wasn't just the woods behind his house in East Tennessee.
Well, he doesn't have a house because last year we went to his home, and his home is just a emptied out school bus in a junkyard.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yes. It's where champions live.
Did Adam Page burn his house down?
I'd like to think no, but maybe Dirty White Boy menaced Hangman Page at the time.
Maybe. How old would Hangman have been? He would have been alive then. He's probably like my age-ish.
Let's see. Hangman Page would have been less than a year old when Smoky Mountain started. July 27th, 1991.
Yeah, okay. He's a few years younger than me. So,
oh
yeah.
My God. Kenny Omega is almost exactly 1 year older than me. October 6th, 1983.
I realized about the time that he became the biggest star in Japanese wrestling, Kazuchika Okada is like 3 months younger than me. And that's always been my, oh yeah, I'm a piece of shit. And somebody my age is like the greatest ever at what they do.
You're not a piece of shit.
Well, that's neither here nor there.
Does it make you feel better if I told you Prince Nana is 45? I don't know why that would make you feel better, but
I mean, he was on fucking those early ROH shows, so that checks out.
Yeah, his birthday was August 1st. I hope you wished him a happy birthday.
Well, I hope he took an Uber to his festivities and didn't swerve when he drives.
Top rope, catch a fly. Yeah, I'll stop. I'm very white. I shouldn't, be singing that song. All right, so that's gonna do things here. Well, thank you again, like always, everyone for listening. Hope you all enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days.
Bye.